All right. I just recorded the podcast conversation that I did with Elise Loehnen, and I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. I have like severe anxiety around mispronouncing people's names and also like mispronouncing words in general. When I wrote, side note, when I wrote my first book, my editor was like, you have this like whole world of like Heatherisms or a dictionary. And it's like this weird quirk that I had probably because I was overcompensating for learning disabilities as a child. But when I speak, sometimes I get very anxious. Like I'm saying someone's name incorrectly. Like I'm literally staring at their name. I will listen to their name on a podcast over and over and over and over again. And I'm like closing my eyes. I'm writing it out phonetically. And then I just like get so nervous. Anywho, I'm going to do commentary on this conversation that I had with her, but I want to read her bio. Elise is a writer, an editor. She is the host of the podcast Pulling the Thread. She's the author of the New York Times bestselling book on our best behavior, The 7 Deadly Sins and the Price Women Pay to Be Good, where she examines how cultural conditioning and ancient paradigms shape women's lives and what it takes to move from goodness to true wholeness. Previously, Elise served as the CCO, the Chief Content Officer at Goop. We are all familiar with Goop, where she co-hosted the Goop podcast, produced the Goop Lab Netflix series, and oversaw the brand's books, magazines, and editorial strategy. Before that, she worked as an editor at Lucky Magazine and ghostwrote several bestseller books for public figures. Through her newsletter, Substack essays, and podcast, Elise continues to explore the intersection of psychology, spirituality, and culture. She has interviewed some of the world's most influential thinkers and healers, from psychotherapists to spiritual teachers to scientists and authors. A Yale graduate and mother of 2 boys, Elise lives in LA with her husband and her family. Okay, you heard her professional bio. There's a reason why I wanted to have a conversation with this woman. I told her she felt like a warm hug to me. When you go and listen to her podcast, she talks about it at the end of our episode. Her book, there's a workbook coming out as well. Go just in her world. Anyways, you hear me talk about how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? Reverse engineer how you want to feel all the time. Okay. This is what I live for. And I am in a season of my life where I can feel another book coming. It's in there. It wants to be birthed. The head is not coming out yet, okay? It's not crowning by any means, but it is in the canal. And I'm starting to feed that part of my soul, and I can feel it. And so I'm starting to nest. I can feel myself creating capacity, mental, physical, emotional, like capacity in my life, getting the kids away from me, trying to get the mental bandwidth, making sure that I feel strong mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, to create space for this thing that wants to come out. Now, why? Why do this? Just to torture myself, essentially. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because when you have seasons of your life, when you were like digging into new things that you want to attract or pull in, this is where you or I decide to surround myself with like-minded people. And Elise is one of those people. I love surrounding myself with what I would consider very smart humans who've done big things, who use critical thinking skills to live in alignment with how they want to feel. And I love how she just like dissects these cultural beliefs and cultural conversations. But she's definitely not like pushing anything on you. And in this conversation, we talk about goodness to wholeness. We kind of pull back the layers a little bit of like, how does that goodness actually show up in the world and our world? And I want you, as you're listening to this conversation, to just think about, like, just critically think about, oh shit, like, how do I show up as the good girl, the good mom, the good woman, the good wife, the good sister, the good partner, the good business owner, the good corporate leader? Like, how am I trying to be good for other people and self-abandon? I talk a lot about managing those 4 types of energy: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and like which levers do you need to pull, like the practical step of returning home to yourself. And so, although today's conversation is very theoretical, bigger picture, which is what I love about Elise too, because she comes from this from like a writer perspective. And I really hope you enjoy this conversation because I'm just here to shift the conversation for women, because I truly believe that the more whole you become, the more whole you feel, more well resourced you are mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. You get out of your kids' damn way. You feel alive and energized. You start making more money. Is it emotionally uncomfortable? Hell yes, it's emotionally uncomfortable, but it's a beautiful journey. And I truly believe that is the journey to wholeness. So go follow Elise. You can check her out online anywhere. Her podcast, Pulling the Thread, Substack, just, yeah, do all the things. She talks about it at the end of this episode as well. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a podcast listener. I will continue to show up. You will definitely notice in this season of the podcast, I'm digging a little bit deeper in different topics. I'm trying to show my face more on video. So if you are watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching. And I would love if you could do me one little favor. I promise to keep the show free as long as possible and to try to make it like as ad free as possible. If you could just help me spread the word, simply going to follow me on Instagram at Heather Chauvin, my last name Chauvin. Just reshare a reel, share a screenshot of the episode, tag me. You know, if you want to review the podcast on Spotify or iTunes or wherever, I truly appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you want to take this, like the theory of this work, and you want to put it into a practical application in your life, something that we are doing this year is time and energy audits. I've paired my wisdom, my brain's wisdom that I've been kind of curating for over a decade, paired it with AI. And also, we have a one-on-one conversation with you as well. So myself and my team are co-creating with you and helping you become well-resourced. So if you actually go to Heather Chauvin, CHAUV, like a V as in Victor, IN.com/audit, AUDIT, you use the code podcast, you will get 50% off. So $500 off your time and energy audit. And what we do with you is after you purchase your audit, there's a form that you fill out. The more data you put into that form, the better your report comes out. And I show you your time leaks, your energy leaks. I tell you what to start doing, what to stop doing. I've tested this with my clients, and the feedback that I've been getting is astronomical. And we constantly tweak it because I want to help you buy back your time and energy as quick as possible so you can live the life you truly want to live, but also so you can make more money, so you can be more present with your kids. And we show you all 4 types of energy leaks. We show you where you need to focus, what I said, you need to start doing to stop doing. So some of you are here, you know, for revenue generating activities. Some of you are here for time generating activities in the sense of you want to live more in alignment. Some of you here are more energy related, and some of you are here for relations, like you really want to help your kids thrive. You want to feel alive in your marriage and your partnerships, or you're like, shit, Heather, I feel like I'm failing in all these areas. I don't even know. I'm shutting down. I'm so overwhelmed. This is really going to help you have a plan and kind of a blueprint on where to focus first. And then we have that one-on-one conversation with you to help you with the nuance, to brainstorm with you and to make sure that you have the support you need to integrate this. Or if you're like, nope, I just wanted that audit, that's all I wanted, then that's okay too. So heatherchauvin.com/audit. If you use the promo code podcast, you are going to get a discount. Now, that's all I got for you today. So let's dive into today's podcast with Elise. So Elise, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I've been following you for, I'll be honest, I've been following you for some time. And I find myself returning to listening to your podcast or going to your Instagram. Do you want to know why?
Yes.
You feel like a warm hug.
Oh, Heather, I love that.
And I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I can feel another book coming in me. And so I'm leaning in towards people who are in that energy. Like maybe it's the creativity. And I'm like, yeah, you're giving me life. You're giving me something. So I just wanted to
Thanks,
tell you that.
Heather. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that energy is, um, which I think holds for all of us because we're story making creatures, is I think I'm always trying to figure it out. And if you're in that phase of starting to feel like there's another book in you and that it's coming, you're probably in the trying to figure it out phase too. I can't get out of the figuring it out, trying to figure it out, but
Mm. You
someday I'm
think
going to
that
have
one
it
day
figured out.
you're like, oh, when I get there, the clouds are going to part and
Never
they never
happens.
do. The sun might come out, but then
No.
a cloud comes again.
The questions just get bigger and harder and deeper, unfortunately. I'm going in the wrong direction if I want clouds parting and the sun out.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So I will tell you, I've written one book which felt like a huge mountain to climb. And this one I'm not so controlling over. I'm just like, let it be art. Like just show
Ooh.
up. Like just what is the muse? What's the thing inside of you that wants to be nourished and fed? So let's start the conversation about goodness to wholeness
Yeah.
and why, like the journey there. And so I'll just give you the microphone for a minute and like where this concept came from, why what does that even mean? You're like, I'm doing the things. I don't have enough. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. Um, do people even know what wholeness feels like? And
Yeah.
do they know when they're in goodness?
Yeah. It's a great question. So, my first book, which came out in 2023, is called On Our Best Behavior. And its basic thesis is that women are conditioned for goodness. And I put scare quotes around that. What I mean by that is that women are conditioned to perform their goodness in the world, to be good
Mhm.
mothers and good friends and good coworkers and all the everything that's attached to that, which is all of these cultural ideals of what a good woman is. Whereas
Mhm.
men aren't really the focus of the book, but men are conditioned for power, and which is equally horrendous in its own way. I think the culture that we live in, the patriarchal culture that we live in, is really hard on men as well. Certainly, we're seeing how difficult it is for our boys. And I'm also a boy mom. So, but in the context of goodness and women, what I had observed in my own life is that this is not conscious. None of this was conscious. It's not like anyone handed me a checklist of what it means to be a good woman and said, all right, go and achieve these things and we'll validate you and approve of you. But
Mhm.
nonetheless, like everyone else, I had been running this race of goodness, proving my worthiness to the world, completely externally oriented around these ideals and terrified of any criticism to the contrary, right? Because in our culture, and I can't really overstate this enough, whether you're a public person or a private person, the worst thing that you can do to a woman, the only thing really you need to do to a woman to take her out, is reputational damage, is to say that she's bad mother, bad partner, terrible friend, toxic coworker, toxic, all these words. Like, we don't use them to describe men, really. I mean, I guess we have toxic masculinity, but mostly it's about sort of the behaviors that we are judging and policing in women. And women we're so attuned to this. We're so scared of this that we will take ourselves out before anyone can even come
Mhm.
for us, right? You see this with female founders fleeing en masse in 2020 and 2021. It's every single celebrity takedown. And it happens in our daily private lives as well. Just like the character assassinations. That's all you need to do is say someone's bad and that's enough, right? Whereas men can do pretty much anything and we still revere them as long as we perceive them as powerful.
Mhm.
Right. So
Yeah, they
there's
get away with a lot
Mhm.
more. It's like, well, yeah,
Well, they don't
yeah,
really even they don't apologize. They don't really even need to acknowledge it. They just keep going.
yeah.
So we're getting a massive cultural lesson in this, obviously, right now, but it's quite clear. And I think it's confusing until you're like, oh, right, there is this mandate of perform goodness for women that does not apply to men. And in
Mhm.
honor best behavior, the punch list, the checklist that I arrive at, despite not being raised in a religious household at all, is it actually correlates to the seven deadly sins, which you probably know from the movie Seven, because they're not actually in the Bible. They became part of Pope Gregory named them in 590 AD when he assigned them all to Mary Magdalene. So they're not actually scripture, but we've certainly we've taken them in as like, this
Mhm.
is what it means. You can't be no sloth, envy, pride, lust, greed, gluttony,
Mhm.
anger, right? So when you think about those, you're like, "Oh yeah, check, 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 check." Like I don't rest. I
Right.
subjugate what I want to other people's needs. I'm obviously always in service to my family, my children, my colleagues, the world. These are things that we valorize from women for good reason, right? Um, I definitely keep my body constrained and tightly disciplined and under control. I don't think money is for me. It's really for other people. And if I get more, they get less, and on and on and on. I am sexy. I know I need to be desirable, but I shouldn't be sexual or desirous, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just good to be the object, but you can't really be the subject of your own desire. And we're never mad, right? We don't get mad about anything. That's sort of what it means to be a good woman. And it is oppressive. And so this idea of wholeness offers some relief. And Carl Jung, who was a Swedish psychiatrist, who
Mhm.
I go to a Jungian therapist. I love Carl Jung, and his ideas I think are really powerful and really for this time. He has essentially a quote to the extent of, "I'd rather be whole than good."
Mhm.
And after I wrote On Our Best Behavior, I realized that I had, without realizing it, written a book about the cultural shadow is one of his big concepts, the cultural shadow of women, and that
Mhm.
we've taken all these qualities that our parents and our priests and our professors and the culture at large have told us are bad. These are our human instincts and impulses. This is our appetite and desire, and so on and so forth. And we've pushed them as far away from these sort of ideal acquired personalities that are oriented around being a great mom and showing the world what a great mom we are, right?
Mhm.
And being such a loving and supportive coworker who's taking care of everyone at the office, all the things that we do. Um, so we've pushed all these sort of quote unquote bad qualities away from us, but they're still a huge part of who we are because we're human. And so the work actually to do is to allow, to integrate those parts of ourselves and to say, sometimes I'm just going to eat a whole pizza in front of Netflix and I'm going to give myself some grace. And sometimes I really don't like being a mother, right? Uh Sometimes I think everyone I work with is kind of an idiot, and this all of these beliefs seep out of us, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
not hiding anything. But part of this work is like, okay, actually, like, let it be present, let it be conscious, let it be owned, let it be integrated. Let yourself be human
Mhm.
and whole rather than this very fragile, rigid idea of good. Sorry, that
That's
was a TED Talk. Okay.
I love a good TED Talk. I can hear people listening to this and they're gonna like just have to go back and listen to it again because the dismantling of this and the unlearning, like sometimes when I'm having conversations with people, I'm like, but why did you do that? Why did you do that? Well, because it had to get done. And I'm like, but you just did somebody else's work for them. Well, because it had to get done. And I'm like, but can you sit with the emotional discomfort that that wasn't your work to do? And that that person had a growth opportunity and you took it away by overdoing, over nurturing, over mothering. I don't know about you or how old your boys are. Mine are 20, 15, and 12. And I bought into that cultural narrative that when they got older, it got easier. And I can't tell you the amount. I was like, at the beginning, I needed to figure out how to like feed myself and like drink some water and like go for a solo walk for 5 minutes, which felt like horrendous inside. Because if I left my children, I was a bad mother, which our culture is so fucking toxic at this point. We spend way too much time with our children now. I think we've swung the pendulum way too far. And now it's like, okay, do less, let them fall more, let them feel more, like stop, like let's go back to latchkey a little bit with a little hug or something like that.
Yeah.
And we got to find the middle somewhere where, we had the first day of school 2 days ago. And I was like, my friend was like, did you get all the new school stuff? And I was like, honestly, I kind of forgot school was starting. I was like, nope. I'm like, you get new shoes when you get new shoes. Like, you got underwear, you're good to go. Do you have a pen? Do you have paper? I'm like, boys are a little bit different than girls in the sense they don't like all the stationary shit, or mine don't at least. But when my son got to a certain point, that teenager phase, I was like, oh, I've been living a lie. I've been controlling behavior. And this kid is going out into the world. And I now need to be okay that you are separate. And you hinted around to it. I was like, as a woman, like it actually makes me want to cry. And I can't put the language to this, but I'm sure you have language for it. Um, my man issues, my untapped trauma, like seeing a spark of the inner world of men raising boys. I was like, women are a little bit louder because we're allowed to be about emotion and oppression. And we've been at this for a little bit, but I'm like, we are all hiding and carrying an invisible load, except we're allowed to talk about it and they're not.
Yeah.
But that as time went on, life is supposed to get easier. I think that's what I'm trying to hint at, that things should be easier. I should be happier. I should be lighter. I should be wholer. Like what am I still missing?
Yeah.
So there's a lot there. You just did a TED Talk. I did one too.
No, I appreciate it. But I think, to in terms of what you're observing in your sons, there's a great documentary called, I think, The Masks You Wear. It's about the masks of masculinity and what's happening to our boys. And there's, Niobe Way's work is so powerful. And I just to touch on it for a second, I have a 9 and a 12-year-old. And I think one of the cultural and there's everything in our culture is so binary, right? So there's a lot of concern about boys and mental health, and it's necessary. And there's sort of then a backlash to that of like, boys have enough, like, stop. We have to continue to focus on girls. The reality is it's not a zero-sum game. And when you look at the statistics, I mean, women, and this is, I think, what's so frustrating for so many of us in this culture, is you look around and you note the exceptionality of women. This is not a new thing. Girls have been outperforming boys in school for a century. I know only now are people starting to sort of look at the statistics and note what's happening and be concerned. I will say, wealthy white boys are doing fine. So much of this is about class. I'd say class is most predominant, and that highly correlates also with race. But yeah, that's a cultural story. I think that our boys will be fine. And what happens in our culture is that, Terry Real, who's an amazing therapist who really focuses on patriarchy and its impact on boys and men, and he's like incredible with hard to reach men. And he talks about like how odd it is that in our culture we talk about turning boys into men. What an odd turn of phrase, actually. But this is like this act where we are severing them from their feelings. And again, setting them up to sort of assume power, which in our culture is mostly power over with no tools. Also for like, you're going to assume all this power in our culture, and then everything that happens is your fault, and you're an oppressor, and just by virtue of your privilege. And but we don't, this might be true on some level, and yet we don't give them the tools to process any of this or stay connected to their feelings. Or anyway, it's a crisis. I really got on a tangent, but I
I
think
love these little tangents and rabbit holes, mainly because we realize that the more we learn, the more we don't know. Like
yeah,
that's how I feel. Like the untangling. I'm in a weird transitional period where I'm like, none of this matters, and all of it matters, and we have
yeah,
one precious life, and I'm here to do good in the world, try to leave it better than how I found it in everyday moments, but like it's those tiny precious moments that I'm unwilling to and I always say like kill myself in the sense of, because my book is titled Dying to be a Good Mother, because I physically almost
mhm,
died, but it's like I don't want my soul to die. I don't want my mental body, my physical body, my emotional body to die to to quote unquote do good in the world. I just want to become and allow people to benefit from from that, whether it's this conversation, whether it's an interaction I have with my boys, someone down the street. And that I think is like the quote unquote return to wholeness,
yeah,
which feels like the cultural upstream of how do I even begin to turn the ship when the noise is so loud on the outside. Does that make sense?
yeah. No, certainly. And I think that this idea, yeah, the way that performing, like being a good mother, is like, just soul destroying, right?
Mhm.
And also, a mandate. But, like, what does it even mean, right? We have so many cultural stories about what that means, and I think that's where we all got so carried along. A good mother is someone who, uh, makes, like, perfectly bento box lunches that are nutritionally balanced and free from any, toxins, right? A good mother is, I don't know. There's so many stories in our
Yeah.
culture, and we see it sort of in as a visual front all the day. Like a good mother creates these perfectly choreographed, elaborate birthday parties. A good mother is there for every drop off and pickup and at every single sporting event. And a good mother is manufacturing these perfectly balanced and spiky children, right? Who are excelling and good citizens. It's crazy because actually we also don't have that much control
Mhm.
about what happens with our children. I mean, all you can sort of do, right, is ultimately, which is terrifying. I think so many of these stories that we have are about trying to have control and engineer certainty for our children and for ourselves, right? They're just managing our own anxiety by being
Mhm.
like, well, if I just do all of these things, then certainly something good is going to happen for my kids. I can make sure that they go to the right schools and get the right jobs and are safe and secure and have a functional life and a functional family, right? Like we want to control. It's very strong. And that's like an affirming story for us that we did a good job, right? With this like primary mandate of being a good mom. And the reality is like so little of this is actually um under our control. And even what you were saying, it's like helicopter, lawnmower, no, actually latchkey, don't be such a dog, be a cat. Um, be present, loving, but not overwhelming. I mean, we don't know. The fact that we have like scripts for how to be parents now is batshit. Um,
And
but
every I was
yeah,
gonna say, and everything that you're saying too is like a very privileged way of
yeah.
parenting where I, in my former career as a social worker, worked front lines with
Mhm.
people that, didn't always have physical access to their children. And I was like, you were the superheroes. Like, your ability to show up and what you've been through, like, how does that make you less than everyone else?
Yeah.
And it is just wild, this perception and persona of, like, just because people have more quote unquote opportunity, sometimes they just got a nicer mask on. But on the inside, I think you alluded to this at the beginning, like we are all the same. We all bleed. We all shit. We all like do the thing. We
Not
have
me.
emotions and we are
Yeah.
human.
Human. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's everything that you just said in the context of privilege. I mean, this is where I think we all participate in. This is our own internalized patriarchy and fulfilling these roles in the culture, and saying, like, establishing by definition of what we're doing, like, this is what it looks like, this is what it looks like to do it right, this is what it looks like to do it perfectly, which is of course not the reality for a majority of people in this country. um, and it sets up all this, because we are so, I think, intent, like, this is my story, if I don't do this for my kids, I will die. Where in your case, it's like, I'm doing all this for my kids and it will kill me, right? It might be closer to the truth. um but that's where we get so caught up in that I think we miss sort of the larger reality, which is like, this is not, is that how you feel fully expressed? Are the, like, that, is that the full gift of Heather on this planet? um and what could happen if we could just let some of these expectations and ideas and roles go and stop holding ourselves to a certain standard, and certainly holding each other to that standard? Because that's the other thing. You get into all this like crazy ambivalence around which happens when that, like, that emotionally uncomfortable feeling comes up of like, my God, my like crappy park birthday didn't really cut the mustard compared to the standard set by the other kids' parents at my school. And suddenly you're in like mommy wars, and you're making everyone feels terrible, right?
So we started this conversation being good, right?
Mhm.
Good roles, hats that we wear. There's like this primal currency or current of like, I have to succeed at this, or I have failed as a human or a woman.
Mhm.
And then we come to a place of awareness, like, okay, I'm performing, I'm doing this externally, it's validation. Now we're at like, I'm committed to wholeness. Like,
Yeah.
I'm now on the path to wholeness. First of all, that is a shit show sometimes. Have you ever seen the little meme of the girl? She's like in a teacup. She's like, ah, and it's always like, this is what healing really looks like. And I see it every day with conversations on like return, return, return. And it's very difficult sometimes for me to create connection with other people because I want to see that they want to create connection through drama or like lack. And I'm like, I just don't want those. Like, I see you, I want to feed that too. Or busyness, the addiction to busyness. I'm like, I just don't want to have this conversation anymore. I want to feel rested, I want to feel whole. Yes, I want to feel abundant. I want to be able to open my bank account and not have a panic attack and be like, I'm good. Like, yes, capacity, right?
Yeah.
Financial, mental, physical. And I'm like, okay, but how? Now I'm going to ask you how, which everyone is like, well, where do we start? Which is, you're like, I don't fucking know. Like, it's different for everyone. But like,
Yeah.
where do you start? And can you talk a little about the emotional discomfort of that when you were like, I am committed to wholeness? I was listening to your podcast. Was it like the 4 lessons you learned this summer or something?
Yeah.
It was your solo, and
Yeah.
just the 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 resistance. So anyways, anything you
Mhm.
want to say about that? You're now
Yeah.
committed to wholeness. Where do you
I'm committed to
begin?
wholeness. And in answer to the question, how, because after On Her Best Behavior came out, people were like, okay, great. Now I start to see what I'm up to, but what do I do about it?
Yeah.
So I have a new workbook called Choosing Wholeness Over Goodness, which I co-wrote with this woman who's a coach, uh, Courtney Smith. And it's essentially a process for starting to identify the stories that you're really committed to around these ideas of goodness. So to just stay with parenthood, for example, I write about this mostly in the chapter on sloth. It's the first part of this workbook. My big story, which I'm sure maybe everyone in the audience also shares with me, so many of our stories are communal, which I find great relief in, is and we have a process in there for figuring out what stories you're actually really attached to. So my story is I'm the only one who can do things right, so I should do it all.
Mm-hmm.
And as I came to see that and really get comfortable with it, which at first it was emotionally uncomfortable, I realized that that is a story that has propped up a huge part of my personality, my success in life, my parenting dynamics and home dynamics with my husband. And I've gotten a lot of payoff from that story, Heather. It's made me incredibly industrious and perfectionistic and high achieving, etc. I've ticked a lot of boxes, and it has cost me even more. And at this point in my life, and this is what the structure of the workbook is, I'm recognizing like I can't pay the bills on this story anymore. I cannot operate without more support in my life. And so it's time for me to put that story down and pick something else. And there are tools in the workbook to take you through how to do that, including, I'll tell you a couple of them because they're fun, but just to go back to the story, which the woman you were talking about at work who's doing other people's work, that's a function of that story. Part of the process of looking and excavating these stories around goodness and accepting wholeness instead is that we do them because we're scared. That's like the basic function of these stories, right? And when you give yourself time to be present with this story and the way that it's showing up in your life and guiding a lot of your behavior, you start to realize that you're just managing against fear. And for me, this story, I'm the only one who can do it right, so I should do it all, is how I have structured my personality to make sure that I am worthy of love. Because look at all the things that I do for all the people. Look how useful I am. Look how needed I am. Look how central I've made myself and everyone else's activities and days. Because absent that story, absent me doing everything so perfectly for everyone all the time, why would anyone want me around? Who would love me? Right? It is tied to my fear of loss of approval, my fear of loss of control, my fear of loss of safety and security. And it is fucking deep. It's like part of my performative childhood, it's part of my relationship, etc. And so putting it down is no small thing because it's gotten me really far and I am so dependent. It is my blankie, right? It is like where I go in stress, I'll just like overfunction and overdo for everyone to prove my utility. But it's not a good way to live. And so one of the exercises that we have in the workbook, we try to get people to make it really fun, develop personas, give these things names, thank them, acknowledge them, be present with them. And one of the exercises is called Teach the Class. This is from Conscious Leadership Group. It's Diana Chapman and Jim Detmer's work. But you essentially we picked as a locale a women's college. But you take your story and we guide you through this process. You create a little syllabus, Heather. You create a little sort of like pitch. And then your job, you stand up. And so you should do this workbook with friends because it's funny. And you teach a class on how to make sure that all these 18 and 19-year-olds make sure that this story is true for them too. So when I teach a class and I'm the only one who can do things right, you should do them all. When I teach that class, it's like, so in your partnership, you want to marry someone who doesn't prize their competency as like their primary value and their personality. So that way you get to be the one in charge of making all the trip arrangements, dealing with all the scheduling, making sure that everything happens for everyone all the time. And to enforce this and to not allow any other behavior or sharing of duties to emerge, you make sure that when a teacher emails that you respond within 4 to 5 minutes so that they understand that you are primary. So they better call you and not your husband if your child is sick. In fact, they won't even know his number. And you make sure that you're the only one who has the logins for ordering hot lunch. And you're the one who is the only one who knows the transportation path from the bus because, like, God forbid your husband were to pick up your kids, right?
Mhm.
And at work, to make sure that you're the only one who, because you're the only one who can do it right. So you need to do everything. Like, you do not delegate, you gatekeep, you pick apart other people's work and criticize it because it's not up to the standards. And like, it would take too long to teach
I
them.
feel
Do you
called
feel
out.
attacked?
Yeah, I feel attacked. Yeah. And yes, I love this, and I couldn't imagine. I would be absolutely mortified, but this would be a good girls' night to just
It's
be like
so funny when you start to
laughing
see
at each
all your
other.
shenanigans and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I know what I do." And you just see what you're up to. And then we do it at a women's college because you're like, "Oh, right. This is what I'm modeling for all of the girls who are around me. Like, this is what I'm showing them is what a good woman does." And it is bullshit, but it's also hilarious and
We
predictable.
we need humor
Yes.
in this process, because if we're not, I mean, let's just laugh at the fact that we're human. And if you do choose, I think we take personal development a little too seriously sometimes. And we're like, okay, just chill the fuck out. You are undoing, unlearning, healing
Yeah.
things that didn't just start last week. And so it's okay. It's
And things that
okay.
have kept you alive and that have
Yes.
helped you figure out who you are. And like, these stories make so much sense. They make so much sense, but we've outgrown them.
Okay. On that note, we've
Yeah.
outgrown them. So the story, you carry it. You're like, I need this to survive,
Yeah.
until one day you can feel it coming. You're like, this is no longer serving me. Like, I've outgrown it. I always use the analogy of the little hermit crab that goes from like one shell to the next. And in the middle is the vulnerability, right? That's when like little seagull can come get you. So we don't like vulnerability, but you can feel it. You can feel that you are outgrowing the story.
Yes.
But if you're carrying a story and it's working for you, what's your perspective on that?
Well, I think the first thing is to even make these stories conscious, because I didn't realize that that's what I was doing until I put it on the page. And then I could say, like, that's great. Once I sort of did the process with it, I was like, this is a crazy way to live. And this is the source of so much of my anger and resentment at my husband, for example, because I make this story true. I'm the one that's enforcing it. He has no expectations. Like, he doesn't care what we have for dinner, which also drives me crazy. Um, but like, this is me. This is me keeping this thing going. So when I say I want more equity in my relationship, I'm not really creating any space in my own behavior to let that happen. So part of it is like, okay, I'll just wait. What if I wait 24 hours before I respond to a non-emergency school email? Like, oh my God, he responded. Like, when I start changing my story and start changing my own behavior, I'm letting something else emerge, which is what I say I want, right? And is more closely aligned with what I want, even
I
though it
just,
means I
can I,
less control. Yeah.
I'll say something on this. So my husband and I have done like a, clearly not like a gender role swap, but when we've been together for almost 20 years, and I was quote unquote at home with the kids. He was working his like 9 to 5, which was really like a 7 to 7. And then he and I kind of work together now, but he takes on a lot of domestic quote unquote roles. I can't tell you all the things that you were saying, where it's like the kids stuff, the school stuff. He owns most of that now. And I have had to fight myself mentally that I'm less of a woman because he does that and I can't resonate. But I've taken on other things. And, but the mom guilt that I still experience because I'm not doing something that's administrative or whatever it is of overwhelm, I'm like, that no longer holds mental space in my mind. But now emotionally, that it's the
Yes.
stickiness of that story is still there. And I'm just like, Heather, let it go. You're over here. That's okay. You've outgrown it, but the stickiness of the
The
story.
sticky and the emotionally uncomfortable material, right? I remember I had to learn this lesson. This is a few years ago, and my book was being printed. and I fell off a horse and I broke my neck. And I was miraculously fine. I lost consciousness. I didn't know my neck was broken for a week. I just was in a lot of pain until my doctor was like, go and get a CT scan, you freak. And anyway, I had to sit and in a brace for 4 to 6 weeks, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't drive, I couldn't lift, I couldn't do laundry, I couldn't cook, um, and I could sit. And I could, of course, because I'm a freak, like I'd balance my laptop and sort of tippity tappity clackety clickety, and I could hold up a book and read. And I let myself watch TV, which now, maybe I should credit that time with my obsession with Love Island, but it was so uncomfortable for me. And I remember it happened on a trip and we got home. I couldn't lift anything or carry anything, and the bags were in the living room. And to not unpack and do laundry immediately is antithetical to my entire personality, Heather. And it was excruciating. And then what do you know? My husband just did it. I didn't say anything. He just took care of it.
Mhm.
And for that 4 weeks, I just got a master class in being literally grounded and incapacitated, nearly incapacitated, right? Still had my head, but it was so hard to not take care of the family. And that's when I was very present to me. Oh, this is an internal thing. Like nobody is demanding a performance here. All this stuff that you do and you blame Rob for or the world for that you have to do, that's coming from inside the house. That's you. And so I had to just sit there. It didn't cure it, but it became very visible for me. And the anxiety, fear, and discomfort was just something I had to contend with for 4 weeks. It was a profound lesson, I have to say. Just made it very present, where I couldn't deny it and I had to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Matt. People talk about, I can't meditate. I can't meditate. I'm like, you don't need to meditate. Just sit
Yeah.
in discomfort, and whatever needs to come up will come up. It's like I call it an emotional poop or like a detox. You're just, it will be present. It will be there. I host these retreats and I take everyone's cell phones away and like no electronics whatsoever. And the panic on their face is intense of like, my children need me, my family needs me. I need to check in. I need to do this. And I'm like, great, I'm the emergency contact. And I swear, 9 out of 10 times, I've never had anyone contact me, but if they do, it is usually a partner and they're like, thank you,
Mm,
exclamation mark, heart emoji. Um,
yeah.
and then they check in with their families after the end of the weekend and they're like, oh my gosh, nothing dramatic happened. And then if they come back, they're doing it again. They're like, take it, take it, take it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's your ability to just sit in the discomfort and observe it instead
Yes.
of reacting to it. That's the secret sauce. That's the magic we're all like searching for. If you sit in the shit and go, what the hell is this? You want to accelerate in life? Look at it. Look at
Yeah.
it and be like, this is a story. And I love this conversation. I'm going to do the teachable and just be like, this is hilarious. Let's just
Yeah. Go
all,
teach that class. Well, even
yeah,
this, like, even, and I have this, and this is like deeply uncomfortable, I think, for all of us to sit with, is this idea that like your kids and your partner really need you.
yeah,
And it's a story. I listen, my parent I hope I'm here for a really long time, and my everyone's lives would be impacted deleteriously. I'm hoping if I
mhm,
weren't here. But do my kids need me to the level at which I think that they do? No. It's hard. I want to be at the center of their universe. But the reality is like they would be okay. And that's tough.
and if you hold that story, which most of us do, great. Then start valuing yourself that way. Like if
Mm,
you actually think I say that to people all the time, you think you're so important, then raise your standards and start valuing yourself that way because you treat yourself like shit You let people treat you like shit. If you think you are the center of everyone's universe and they can't live without you, then you need to start acting like that.
No, but I think that story, like all of these stories, is driven off really by a fear. Like,
100%.
if they don't need me in the way that I feel I need to be needed, who would want me around? And the reality is, like, the love is not actually dependent on need. These are two different things, right?
Yes. I could talk to you forever, and I just want to say thank you. And the first thing I said to you, I think I was hitting record, which was returning to your podcast, listening to your voice. Like you're just a warm hug. And I just want to say thank you.
Thanks,
And
Heather.
what I'm trying to say is this might come across wrong, but take it as a compliment, is you were just being you, using your voice, like just sharing your self-wisdom with the world. And I saw value in that. And you weren't trying to perform or, you weren't on Broadway. You were just you. And that was life-giving to me. So thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Appreciate that.
So where can people find more of you, your books, your workbook?
Yeah. Come
things.
listen to Pulling the Thread. It's an interview show with really fascinating people, I think, about big questions of the day, and some solo episodes in there where I just, spill. I am a work in progress, let me tell you. And then my first book is called On Our Best Behavior, The Price Women Pay to Be Good. And then the corresponding workbook is Choosing Wholeness Over Goodness. And you
And
can
that's
find
out
me on
now?
Instagram. That's out now. It came out last week.
You're like,
And
what day is
what
it?
day is
What
it?
day is
Yeah,
it?
it's out. It's out. Yeah, and I have a Substack newsletter every week called Pulling the Thread.
Beautiful. Thank you, Elise.
Thank
And thank you for
you.
being you and just sharing your wisdom with the world.